Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the home of the most competitive game coverage, most intense unit analysis, and the highest of high-level plays ever seen by two casuals who barely know where the rule booklet is. You're listening to This is for Worlds. Let us join Aaron and Phi and see what competitive topic is on the docket today. Hi, welcome back to This is for Worlds. I'm Phi.
And I'm Aaron.
And the world has yet to kill us, despite its best efforts, at least in my case. Pretty sure you've dodged a couple bullets here and there since our last recording.
Well, it certainly felt like it. You know, I was around you while you were potentially infectious.
True.
Yeah.
Year 2024 of our Lord, and the vid is still out there taking pot shots at people.
Doing drive-bys.
Oh, I definitely did a fucking drive-by at this house. But the good news is, I was able to work remote, but that meant since I wasn't going out and playing games, I actually got a lot of shit done for modeling for Advantage.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything you want to talk about before we just jump right into my painting and magnematizing?
No, nothing I can really think of.
Sweet. Because I'm pretty excited about it. So I can't remember. I don't think turret facing really matters in World of Tanks, right?
Like, as I remember, you do need the facing, I'm not sure, but like you draw line of sight from the center of the turret.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I know it's really important in Team Yankee because it can determine like whether or not you get side armor or frontal.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is I test fit 2 World of Tanks miniatures, King Tiger, and I want to say the other one's a Comet, a little British Comet, for magnets on their turrets, so they spin super easy. When we signify that they've blown up, it's really easy to just pop the top off without like picking up the whole thing and shoveling it around. Because mainly, I want to do it for my Team Yankee stuff that needs it. Not that the Swedes really need it when you just run a bunch of cheese wedges, which I love. Or all the wheelie boys, although some of my wheelie boys for the French, they do have turrets, so that is a thing that may need to happen. So, I wanted to test the magnetic fit on the turret, since they're 1/100 scale. The only issue is the World of Tanks models are pre-built and pre-primed. Which I got another thing to cover in this topic now, regarding that very thing. But so I clip drilled because the socket, it was easy enough to fit a magnet in on the hole, but the peg is on the turret, so I chop drilled, found a bit and a perfect size magnet, and it is beautiful. It is strong enough that I can pick the tank up by their turret, and it still stays attached, and just a slight little like hold the hole and flick, and it just comes right off. Was super proud of that. That the concept worked so brilliantly, and then managed to do decals on. I don't know how many are in the picture. I'll get a couple of them. I'll get a better picture of it later for our Instagram. But I finally got all the decals on like 2 more King Tigers. I can probably name them. 2 more King Tigers, regular Tiger, 2 Crusaders, 2 Sherman Easy 8s. What is the tank destroyer British turret?
Oh, the Firefly?
No, that's the Sherman. This is like built on the Comet hull, and it has the really tall, I want to say Challenger, but I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I do not remember.
Anyways, the TD on like a medium tank hull with a really tall turret, not the FE, not the just huge HE thrower. This is like the little guy. Um, I think that's really it. Crusaders. Oh, there is a Cromwell in there. Tiger. Yeah. So those are done. They're decaled. I just need to seal them, and then in the future I can throw the magnets on them. And pretty much primed all or half. And this gets back into where we were talking about with the magnets, because I don't remember if we ever brought it up on the podcast, but a while ago I had an issue with the pre-primed World of Tanks where it was select units, which is what made it so mind-boggling to me. Select units, when you would prime them with Army Painter Airbrush matte white primer, they were turning yellow.
Weird.
Yeah, it was super confusing, super weird. It was on mostly Russians, but it happened on a couple of the German tanks. And these are pre-primed. Like that's how Battlefront. No. Yeah, Battlefront GF9.
Gale Force 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gale Force 9.
Battlefront still. I don't know how that fucking partnership works. Because you can buy them through their main webpage.
True.
Just not listed anywhere. Super weird. But for whatever reason, it was like some of the tanks, when I airbrushed, primed them white, they started turning yellow, but only in certain sections. So I thought it was like something weird with the primer. I'm pretty sure I found out recently that it's bad paint. Because when I went through on the first set of tanks for the rest of the priming that I was doing, I was getting weird bubbling when I put it into the airbrush. I've got a Badger 101, I think. Oh, I used to know. I've said it a couple times in previous podcasts. I'm blanking on it, despite literally having it in my hand like a couple hours ago, maybe. So I thought I had like an air leak or something, or a plugged nozzle that was forcing the air to like bubble up in the pot on it, because it's gravity fed. No, that was just how it came out of the bottle. So I tried to spray it, and instead of doing a consistent coat, the bubbles stayed. And then gave it like 2-3 minutes, let the paint dry, started turning yellow. So I don't know if like I got a bad batch or something, or something got in there. That bottle's been inside the house in temperature controlled area, so I don't know really why that one would be an issue. But then I swapped over to another bottle of the same exact stuff, and it covered up the yellow on the rest, and I didn't have any issues with it. But I spent so long troubleshooting that weird yellow coloration in the bubbles that like I only got halfway through the rest of my World of Tanks stuff. And they're kind of the priority right now to get finished, just because they have been sitting the longest. It is such a simple paint scheme. It's just white base coat, a little bit of like uniform gray, and then I think it's like U.S. Air Force. I forget what the dark blue is called. But it's just like that little color palette, spray painted for like large swath camo for the Nordinovik fictional nation from Ace Combat. Probably have 40 tanks left to do in that.
How many do you have, period?
Ugh.
Or do we not want to talk about that?
I mean, I don't mind talking about it. That's the whole reason. We don't want to talk about it, but we got a fucking podcast.
Fair.
Listen to yourself.
It reminds me of a story I heard from someone, but I don't want to put that story out on the internet. We'll discuss it later. But continue.
We'll discuss it later. Don't worry, loyal listeners. I will tell it in the future and mute him so he can't stop us. Yeah, it's just a pile of potential, my man. That's all it is. Oh, but how many do I have? I can at least say not all of them are technically World of Tanks. A lot of them, you guys had the tanks stash, tanks with an exclamation mark. And I picked up a lot of stuff. I picked up a lot of those so that I could do the builds that I wanted for World of Tanks. So you get a little bit cooler Stugs. I think I've got a couple IS tanks that are a little bit cooler. I think I've got 2 more Crusaders and a couple more Cromwells. And you can generally tell which ones were the original tanks because they've got more bits and bobs, like the MGs on the hatches or road wheels and crates on the backs. They came with the extra greeblies to make it look like a used real tank, whereas the World of Tanks is mainly just quick, put it out in the plastic and let people play with it kind of style. Because you had to assemble the tanks. They came on sprues, so because you guys had them on the Black Friday table, I bought damn near all of them. I think the only ones I didn't buy that were on the table were the more modern ones, because at the time that was technically before we got into Team Yankee. And even then, I think mostly the modern stuff was the British, because I know I ended up picking up a little swing fire, because it was the only thing left on the table, and I've never bought a swing fire set for the British and Team Yankee, so it's the only one still sitting on a sprue, waiting to be assembled. But yeah, I was super proud that we got 10, 15 tanks finished. Finished with air quotes. Those I will put on a table, no problem. The magnets aren't gonna hold me back. And doing the quick and dirty seal is not I can do that tomorrow before stopping by, and then they are ready to go into the storage closet at the store. But the other thing I finished, I'm super excited about it, and you also finished. I don't know why you said you didn't have anything. The stuff that I 3D printed.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we definitely didn't talk about that last time.
I was silently going, what are they talking about? I can't remember.
I don't know how you can't remember, because I fucking love it. And you haven't showed off the one that I really want to see yet on the Instagram. You showed off 2 of them.
I haven't actually gotten around to painting the V29, because I got the silver down, and then I started doing the tedious process of panel lining it, and I didn't like the way it was coming out. So it's been reprimed, and I haven't gotten further yet.
How are you panel lining it?
With panel liner, it's a Tamiya product that is.
Yeah. I have it too. The main reason I was asking, because I already know how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna seal it, do the panel liner, and then wipe away everything on top, because Plane Printer wonderfully does, unless it has embossed lines on it, like the SM79 that I have, everything is inset. So you seal it, you wash it, you wipe off the top, and then the panel lines look great. It doesn't matter if you like overspread it. It has worked fantastic. I've done that on all of my Legion vehicles. Like the AATs have that, because it's just easier to, like, once you do all that work of painting and everything. Usually for me, that panel liner is the last thing. I just go ahead and seal it, panel line the shit out of it. Even if it overruns, I don't care. I just quickly dab everything in the corners, and then just wipe it with a paper towel, and that shit comes right off, and the liner stays inside everything, and it looks great. But I did finish my so as we've talked about in the past, I have a aversion to doing real life things. So my World of Tanks, all Norden Navik, and my Scandinavian and Team Yankee are going to be that way. But I wanted a little bit something different because, painting a lot of white, gray, blue gets a little boring. So went a little out in right field. Took some historic inspiration for the camo theme. However, completely botched the camo theme. So it's really hard to see, and it looks like I'm just a really sloppy painter, which kind of bummed me out, because I put a lot of thought and tried to make sponges for it. But I did 6 Fiat, I'm pretty sure they're Fiat G55 fighters, and a SM79 in the Erusian, I think is the name of the country. I have been saying the Erusian Regia Aeronautica since they were the closest Italian representation in Ace Combat. But it's orange tail rudder, orange tips on the wings, and then the Erusian, the orange, I don't know, it's not a pentagon. It's got like 12 sides on it. But they're little, I can't remember what they're called. Symbols, usually you put them on the sides of airplanes, not insignias. Roundels. They're little roundels.
I had no idea where you were going, so.
The real nerds out there, the real airplane World War II buffs will know. But I did their little roundel in decal, and also had a weird problem with that on some of them. Cannot figure out why that happened. But I remember telling you one of the days we were at the store together that some of them wanted to curl inward. Like,
yeah.
As soon as I would pull them out, you would see that they were kind of like bubbling, but it would just be one bubble underneath, but it would just be the water as it would lift it off the transfer paper. And then as soon as you put it on the plane, it curled into itself and would just roll. And I destroyed probably like 4 or 5 of these roundels together, which is why if you ever look at my decal sheets that I make, I always have a shit ton extra on there, because I know shit's gonna break, shit's gonna fuck up. So the first couple I had that issue. It's probably like 4 or 5 of them, and then a bunch of them went really well, and then the last 3 just like, instead of curling inward, so leaving the color on the outside, they curled outward and rolled into little like cylinders of white. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck it is, because it's not temperature. I was using microset and then eventually microsol to like try and get that shit to stop, and it just fucking wouldn't on some of them. And it didn't matter where the positioning was on the paper. So it's not like I had, as far as I could tell, like either too much or too little of the lacquer on top. It was just something weird, and eventually just like kept going until they stopped. But the camo, so on the bottom, it's a really if you're looking up at the bottom of the aircraft, it is, I think, like Wizard Orb. I think is the color from Army Painter, to kind of give like a off sky blue coloration. But the camo on top was supposed to be the same green that I use on, oh, that's something else. The same green that I use on the water for my Italian ships in Victory at Sea. I used the same as a base, and then I used like Angel Green or whatever it's called by Army Painter. But with that, I wanted to sponge it because I wanted that green blue to pop in the middle of it. So I wanted it to look like a little mismatched, and it basically looks like I washed it in this green. It doesn't really look, in my mind, painted on with intent, I guess. But it's learning paint, or learning models for the most part, and I'm not like going into competitions with it. And from afar on the table, I bet they're gonna look real good anyways. I'm still. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I've always painted with the standard of like, does it look pretty good from if I hold it out at arm's length, you know? Because realistically, you're standing at a table playing a game. It's gonna, it's not like you're so
True.
close you can smell the paint kind of thing.
True, and it can definitely be a fact of like I've been staring at them up close for a long period of time, trying to get those fucking decals on, and just noticing that it just doesn't look right. But I think it's going to be okay. And I also absolutely love. It's not really hoard decals, but I collect decals from things and save them for like when I need them on different shit that I just like, oh, that's going to look cool. And I gotta say, everything on the SM-79, the transport, the torpedo bomber, that is mostly just the ones that I made. There's a couple like Gundam pieces on there, a couple numbers, but the rest of it's the Eurasian roundel. But the Fiat G55s, they have Swedish tank numbers on the fuselage left and right, and then they the SM does have two snakes, but the Fiats, all the planes have the Swedish tank numbers on the sides from a Team Yankee. I assume one of the tank wedges, I guess, the 103s. Maybe that's where they came from. Unsure, but it looks great because it's like the outline is just in of the numbers are in white, and then I took some Gundam pieces and chopped them up and put them on each of the flight leader, I guess, because they're not the squad leader, because there's like 6 aircraft. And then the way the numbers worked out was it's like 511, 512, 521, 522, 531, 532. So each of the ones that end in a 1, they got this really cool symbol placed on the top of their nose. So just as another signifier that like they're the lead kind of stuff. Little things like that really make me see that, make it come together for me, instead of just like the white or the camo and the roundels and stuff like that. So I can't wait until we get to play Blood Red Sky with them and we get to see them on the table. And then if you haven't worked on anything else,
We never actually did talk about what it was that I got done that I couldn't forget,
Oh,
or that I couldn't
well,
remember. Yeah.
jump to it then.
Yeah. So it's up on the Instagrams. You printed off a B-17, a B-29 is the one that I have started repainting, and two P-61s, Black Widows, and I usually was just like, whatever, just get paint on it for like historical stuff. Like it generally, I not as motivated to like go all out when like you're uncomfortable doing real world stuff. For me, it's like just less motivating
Sure.
because I have to do a thing, kind of, right? Um, and that was kind of what happened with the P-61s, but they're basically just jet black anyway. But I wanted some pop of color in there and did red on basically the control surfaces, and just did like army green and glazed the canopy on the B-17. I was quite happy with how they came out because again, from like arm's length away, they make sense, right? It looks like what it's supposed to be.
100%.
So, but yeah, I got those done. My paint competition entry. This is the other thing I've been spending a lot of time on. Now I remember why I had the idea, right? So I painted up some T-72s, basically to look like Hello Kitty tanks. Which I have a bunch of pictures I'll post on Instagram. I'm not entirely sure if I'm completely done with it yet. There is other things and ideas I want to do. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to find the stuff I need to do it in time, because it is due by the 30th is the last day that I can turn it in.
Yeah.
I just don't remember where specifically using Hello Kitty as a color scheme came from. Is the only thing that I cannot so Chase, the manager, his partner D, she like Hello Kitty's her jam. Like that's her thing, right? But other than that, like I remember I was like I had the idea to do a Russian or Warsaw Pact army as Hello Kitty, and I was like, hey D, I know you're never gonna want to play, but if you want to, I will have Hello Kitty tanks. So I built a display board for them. I built like a wall behind them, and picked up some stickers that I weathered so it looked like there was like a Hello Kitty poster in the background of like this war-torn area. I also picked up a couple Pez dispensers with Hello Kitty tops so that I could turn them into little plinths, little statues. Got out the Dremel, which I haven't used in forever because I wanted to if I was going to paint it, some of the detail like Hello Kitty's whiskers and her eyes, you wouldn't be able to see because they're just painted on. Like the nose and the bow, for example, are all obviously molded detail. I got to give a shout out to my wife, not that she listens or anything, but I wanted to incorporate Hello Kitty's bow somewhere, right?
Right.
So it was for those that haven't seen the post on Instagram, it is pink hull, white turret. The smoke launchers are black to be like the whiskers, and then the nose is the barrel is yellow. And what's up?
What do you mean the post on Instagram? I'm looking at our Instagram right now. What are you talking about?
It's not there at all because this is for future people. Because after we're done recording this, you ruined the illusion.
Bro, you got me good. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm literally looking at our Instagram right now, and the last thing is your B-17 and the P-61s. Sorry, listeners.
Anyway, so like if you squint, like it totally reads, to me and several other people I've asked, including you, like clearly it's what it is.
Yeah.
I wanted the bow, and I was talking to my wife, and I was like, hey, you're a girl. And she looks at me weird. I was like, do you have like a tiny bow, like for your hair? And I explained to her what I was doing. I had made mention of it, but I think she was like, whatever, you're weird sometimes kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait, I got a thing. She loves to build Legos, and there was a Winnie the Pooh set and
Hell
Eeyore has
yeah.
a bow in his hair, and it just so happened to come with extra. Legos generally always come with extra of the small or like certain pieces in the set,
Yeah.
and the bow was one of them. Now the bow also had little like ribbons hanging off, so I just trimmed that off, and it was like the most perfect to scale bow that could possibly be found. Um, and she had 4 extras, and I had 5 tanks, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use all 5 for the
Sure.
vignette I wanted to make, but I was like, I'm going to paint all of them. And I looked at her and go, "Can I owe you a bow? Can I buy you one off the internet? So I don't want to have to worry about getting it."
Yeah.
So her Eeyore is Sans bow. Luckily, if I wanted to do, because long term, this might turn into a Cuban army, completely painted in Hello Kitty pink and white, and I'm gonna need to spend, well, probably not a lot, but they're like 10 or 12 cents a piece off of like secondhand Lego bit sellers. Like I know you can pick up individual bricks from Lego because I've done it in the past,
Sure.
but it's quite a bit more expensive direct than it is from third-party sellers. But
I'd also be super curious because we have Brick Alley over in Port
mm-hmm.
Orchard.
Orchard.
Yeah. They may do like little bits and bobs.
I do know she does bits, just like bits. I'm thinking bits like model bits, but like I know she just has like bulk Lego. I just don't know if it's sorted.
That's
And and honestly, like if I needed 100 of them at 10 cents a pop, like I would rather just order it. Honestly,
sure.
it would just be easier. So because I've been thinking too,
Just
like
an idea. God.
no, sure. So that's really, I mean, like I've done a little bit of work. I think we've talked about how I want to do um, a clone army for Legion because I'm honestly getting kind of tired of playing Rebels. Been playing basically nothing but Rebels with the exception of a teensy bit since the game came out.
Insert the traitor meme here. Traitor.
Yeah. Uh,
I
I've
let
got
you out
the
again.
basing,
You were my brother.
I got the basing scheme figured out at least. They're like torn pieces of cork that are going to look like dried lava, and then in between and around, which is just going to be naked base, there's not going to be sand, will be, I'm going to like airbrush it to look like lava,
Yeah.
because I'm also making a lava themed table for the store currently. So
Which
that's
you keep
basically it.
teasing, and I'm waiting on.
Well, you can see some of the work I've done. I got some of it like at least built up in terms of like the foam to build out. Uh, there's a few of them don't have like spires or rock formations. They just have buildings.
Yeah.
So those I'm hoping to get paint. Well, maybe not in the next 2 weeks because somebody's on vacation, so I'm covering upstairs. But
That's fair. Oh, I just had another idea.
well, yeah, that's all I got.
The only other thing that I did was I finally finished those 3 Littorio class battleships, the 550 point things for the Italians, the ones that have literally been assembled and awaiting my super simple paint job on them. But just been lazy getting to it. But they're done. They're actually at the store now and look fantastic. I also had a really interesting idea. I don't know why I thought about this while you were talking. I think mainly it was because I was looking at our Instagram trying to find the post.
Non-existent pictures.
Yeah, and then was seeing a lot of our blood red skies. And I was like, man, it's such a bummer that the mats are mostly like blank. And then I had the idea of like, hold up, I can get on Amazon for $40. This is probably the cheapest game mat I've ever bought, considering like the neoprene ones that I get for Legion and Armada are usually like $60 to $80. A 6x4 mat the car city playmat.
Oh, the one we all played with as a kid.
Uh, I
None of
looked
us
at
did
that
anyway.
one. Yeah, I looked at that one. It was not the right size. It's a fucking weird size. So I put in specifically 6x4s, and I am pretty fucking tempted. I'm just gonna go ahead
You should,
and
you should send me a link to that. I'm curious.
add. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm just gonna add it to my list and be like, maybe. Um, yeah, it. We kind of flipped though in the past month or so since our last recording. Normally, you're the one that does all the hobbying, and I've got a shit ton of excuses that aren't very good. Um, but I was super happy to one get all that stuff 3D printed, especially Chase's water moccasin.
Oh
Finally,
yeah, that fucking thing.
yeah, finally done with that piece of junk. Um, yeah, I know he loves it. He's working on it, and I've allowed myself one more thing of his, which may turn into four, but not the same fucking size. Plus, yours and my fighter prints are going on there next before his, because I need a couple more, especially when we found out some of the missions they require specifically two bombers or transports, stuff like that. A little bit of a bummer. So I've got to get those printed for you and for myself. Um, and I guess we can talk about a future thing to come because the guy is fantastic and blowing my mind away with generosity right now. So, if you've been listening, you may have a general knowledge of where we're located, mainly because we've talked about the store that we're both based out of, the one you work at. I'm just a lazy patronage, or lazy patron of the store. But if you've like done any googling or you just know in general where that's at,
If you've stalked us on the internet,
yeah, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard is like literally right next to the store for the most part. The entry gate is like half a block down. So, one of the really iconic skyline markers, landmarks for the area, is an old hammerhead crane that still sits on the pier to this day. I think it's like uh, Crane 6 Pier 26, if I remember right. I'd have to look at it again. But it's a really tall, really big, really thick crane that they used in the manufacture of the different subs and everything, ships that were built here a long time ago. If I remember right, it's no longer in use. Um, it's mainly kept around as like a historic landmark for the most part. And one of the things that I want to build for our gaming sessions is I want to build a dry dock table. I've found prints. I've bought a bunch of like factory style that actually mimic a lot of PSNS buildings because a lot of them are the old brick style warehouses, buildings, everything, shops, everything like that. So the Team Yankee train stuff buildings that I picked up from the store will fit that well. There's only like a couple admin buildings that I'll probably want to try and find, and then I'm going to put it all on top of foam to give us that the ability to cut into it to place like a submarine in it for like a dry dock, and then build a Team Yankee table out of that. So one of the things that I've always been looking for is like, man, if I could find this crane, and I've been half-assedly looking for the most part. Like whenever it crosses my mind, I would just do a quick little search. Last week, when I finally did the search, I searched Bremerton Hammerhead Crane because I saw someone in one of the Facebook groups posted a bunch of historic imagery around the crane, and I was like, oh shit, let me go Google that again, see if I can find anything. Because it is unique. Like, when you think of certain cranes for shipyards, or cranes in general, you think of like all the ones for the construction, or you think of the ones that move containers on and off ships. But the Bremerton Hammerhead crane is literally, I've not seen another one like it. So it's one that I've always just been periodically searching. And last week I found one. I found it on. I still have the tab open here. Sketch Fab. Just general 3D, not even for 3D printing. Oh yeah, I'm guessing crane 28 Pier 6 is on the side of the crane. But it's not even just for 3D prints, like it's also for assets for video games or, doing 3D stuff in movies. So using the artist's links on I should probably Google his name beforehand just to like learn how to pronounce it. But using his the links on Sketchfab, I was able to track him down, and he's done a lot of beautiful landscape work that like more well-known subjects and areas. So it kind of blew my mind when I found the crane. And also, weirdly, the crane was the only one that didn't have a price on it. Because, like, the rest of them, you could buy the assets so that you could use them in, like, whatever movie or video game that you're working on. You could, like, use all that in. But this one was, like, the only one that didn't have a price on it. So, like, I tracked down a website that I could finally, like, message him through. And he's from, I'm pretty sure, Bosnia Herzegovina. I'm trying to get back to the webpage. His name is Martin Mikulich. Definitely probably butchered that. But I reached out to him on ArtStation, and because it was another place that he had some of his portfolio listed, and he has been the most fantastic and like appreciative person and accommodating. Because he's like, I told him, I was like, hey, I found this. I would like to give you money for it so that I can print it off for a wargaming table. And he was like, that's dope. Nobody has ever wanted my stuff for something like that. Yeah, tell me more about what you need and how I can do that for you. And I was like, well, that's more than I was kind of expecting, but here's the 3D printer I have. Here's what I use to do all this and like set it up, print it out, all this kind of stuff. Here's how we would want to use it. Here's the scale that we're kind of thinking. And he was like, cool. Here's all the files for free. So it's like all the object files. He sent them to me in Blender format as well. Sent me an STL for straight up printing it and all this stuff. And he's like walking me through a bunch of like, here's how this, why I don't think this may print directly, or here's something and all this. And he's like just talking me through it. And I'm like, okay, this is fantastic. Please let me know how I can give you money. And he's like, it's weird that you want to give me money. And I'm like, bro, this is fantastic art. And you're literally the only person who's ever done this. I've been on and off searching for this for a really long time, and then I just came across it. So yes, I would like to pay you for your talents in doing the thing. And he was just kind of like, yeah, no, here's everything. And I'm like, okay, well, how about this? You convert it to an STL in a way that I can print this thing, and I pay you then. And he's like, yeah, no, we can talk about that later. But like, here, take the files. Let me know what you think, and I really want to see this thing when it's like printed up and on a table and something. I'm like, bro, you are like one of the nicest human beings like I've ever talked to in like this regard of the hobbying side. Because a lot of times when I'm like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, they're like, the first thing they bring up is money. Is like how much, and I'm not complaining. It's art. You're doing a service. Get paid. Like, I am all about that life. Like, I do not want to like, hey, can you do this for me for free? Maybe I'll talk about you on my podcast to like 30 people. You know,
Sure.
yeah, I'll pay you an exposure kind of shit. I'm like, no. We're all out here. The world fucking sucks. You need to get that payment where you can. Let me pay you for your arts and services. Shit like that. So I'm super excited that because I put it in my slicer and it auto repaired the file pretty good, but then I noticed in his, I guess there's a movable object so that the crane can rotate at the top. That disappears when I put it into slicer. When I check it in like the other 3D software, it's there, but I guess like whatever it is, the slicers don't like it. So it's a gap that like maybe it could work, but I would rather just work with Martin and get it sorted effectively. That way I can just print it and throw it on the table. Plus, he also sent me the texture files for like the images he uses. I can probably also just transfer the human portion of the crane, like where the people who operate it would be. I can probably just put those on fuck is it called? Decal paper, and just print that off and slap it on the side and call it good. Maybe add like a little bit of rust effects or a little bit of paint here and there to touch it up. But he like also sent me the texture files for like how to make it look realistic if I wanted to use it in 3D stuff. I'm like, nah, dude, I just want to print this out. So I'm super pumped about that. Is there anything else that we want to talk about in modeling for Advantage? Because that was a lot.
Oh, that's all I got.
Woo! In that case, do we want to go into our games that we've played, our past week's Worlds qualifying, if you will?
Past months.
True. But because of everything going on, we haven't actually had that many games played between us. So I think the first thing that we can cover real quick is the Victory at Sea game that you and I had back May 28th, if the note is correct, in when we played that game. IJN versus Reggie and Marina, of course. I'm Italian, you're the Japanese. The only note that I have down here was it was a slugging match, and I vaguely remember why I put that for the most part, and it's due to the fact that we did not crit each other very often. We rolled the sixes, but we never, or the
Couldn't confirm the crit.
Yeah. We couldn't confirm the crit. So it was you and me, because I remember I definitely took one Littorio, because this was at 1k points. Then I took the Littorio. I took the Conte di Cavour, as I love calling it, the cunt. And we also took the Luigi. I don't remember what you took, but I took the Luigi, because I'm all about the fucking memes when it comes to my...
Yeah, I was say I can't for the life of me remember what I brought.
Yeah, I remember you nuked Luigi pretty quick, but the cunt and the Littorio, we need a meme name for the Littorio. But the Conte di Cavour and the Littorio, they manhandled you right back. Now that I've definitely learned how to keep the distance and use twin linked fast track against you, way better. they definitely ate up your destroyers before you really got. I think you only got like one torpedo shot off on the Littorio, but like your destroyers got ate up pretty brutal on the way in, and then your big boys. You just don't have the health pool that I had. So
Yeah, because for the most part, most of the quote unquote like heavy cruisers were light cruisers that met the legal limit for what they could be pre-war, and then they converted upgunned them, but they still were like on the same hull, same armor kind of thing.
yep, yep, and that's basically what it came down to. Because I remember like just dealing consistent damage, and then you're like, oh, yep, that's enough, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? You and I have been shooting each other for like 3 turns now, and I still have like 70% health left on this thing, and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's got like 30 or something, and I was like, holy shit, I need to be less afraid of these things than I am.
Yeah.
Yep. I still love that game, even though it feel like every time we play it, it is very much a hey, I reread the rule book on this one part, and we've been playing this thing completely wrong the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, but if you wander about on the Facebook page for this game, there's a lot of they didn't do the best job, it seems, and then apparently some of the stuff that the Brits get is like ridiculously OP, and there's
Bro,
some
I'm
people
still salty about Local 14 or whatever the fuck Adam has, if Adam ever plays again.
It's like more than 20. It's obscene.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Oh, you thought you were high and mighty with Local 6? Get wrecked, nerd. Yeah.
It's basically Sea Whiz, but, World War II.
It's like, what, they not understand aircraft carriers supposed to, like, launch aircraft? They just have a flat deck with a bunch of fucking guns pointing up? Holy shit.
Apparently that was the revision, though. Like, that, it was just turned into being a floating AA barge, basically, from what I remember reading.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say since that game was so far away, or so long ago. Not really a lot of details. All I really remember was you lined up for the torpedo shots, but I was just dealing more consistent damage. Since none of us were really I think I only got like 2 crits on myself, and you had like 3 spread across yours. Oh, weirdly, the cunt kept critting your destroyers. I remember that. You would be like 1 health left on the destroyer, and then you'd get like a random crit on it because the light guns didn't have weak. So
which was irritating.
Yeah.
That you could just crit fish, like.
Yeah. That's all I.
Impunity, basically.
Yep, that was all I was doing at that, keeping you at range and keeping the destroyers away while main guns focused. I mean, we can also hit the Blood Red Skies, because it was essentially, even though that one was not last week, but the week before, I guess.
I feel like it was longer than that.
Yeah.
Because you missed 1 week because of the COVIDs.
Yep, one for COVID, one
weeks.
For work.
And both of those weeks, no one else showed up, I don't think.
Yeah. So we did a Blood Red Skies before I caught the vid. And we did it 3-way. I flew the Fiat G55s for the first time. I think you did Hellcats.
I think I just took Corsairs because it was easy.
That's fair. And John took P-38s, maybe? Or P-51s? I forget what John took. It's probably in the pictures.
Yeah, it's been.
All I remember is it ended in a tie. Because John, hey, look at that! You posted the photo. That looks real badass. I like it.
Thank you.
Um, go back in reverse and say the thing. Uh, or undo saying the thing. Oh yeah, there's a picture here. Yeah, you took Corsairs. Oh, he took Thunderbolts.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how his dice must have just been on fire. Cause you died and did like nothing back to him.
Yeah, I just.
You went head on with him.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the photos. You went head on with him, and I was trying to get to both of you at the same time because I didn't want to fight one of you alone. But I was just too far. The Fiat's we got decent speed, but it I was going last in everything when we tied on advantage and skill. So he knocked you down real quick. This was a real short game, and then he turned on me, and we head to head again. And this time I actually returned fire, and so technically I'll say he won because he did the attack and shot first. That did the last boom shit to me, but because it was a head on, I got to return fire, and he also uh, retired at the same time. So technically, it was a tie. Um, I'm super excited to play more of this game. I cannot wait until we can play other missions aside from just Furball.
Yeah. It is getting a bit like stale.
But that's why we're doing the 3D prints and things.
No, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm excited for. Is just more stuff to. Because ordering from them and that game not being terribly cheap.
Yep. I'm
as games
working.
go.
I'm working on a 3D print for a stand, so that I can put magnets on it and then just tilt the airplanes with magnets instead. I've got a couple of those that the magnets that I can give you to see if you want to use. Because for the most part, I found the original 3mm ball and the small radial magnets that I found are better, but I think they're going to require modification on the aircraft's underside to make work. And I was like, well, I can give you the bigger ones, see if you want to use those or not, or I can just give you the rest of my bases, and you can buy bases to play with.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep. But I'm really excited, especially to start putting the bombers and stuff on the table. That's why I got mine painted up, and now we each need one more of the ones that we already have. So, yeah. Do you remember your Legion tournament game, or is this one that I'm talking about?
I do remember. Um, not that it was a bad experience, mostly because it just cemented my desire to play something different.
Yeah.
Played Jed, if I'm remembering this correctly.
Our resident
Again,
clone phase
dear
1
listeners,
player.
it's been a long time. And yeah, he's running 6 P1s, some snipers, and 2 clone commanders. And I was taking like triple dish gunline, echo base, just because like I just want something easy. Turns out that you can't when your white saves with we played 4 to 5 positions, so effectively there was a lot of heavy cover everywhere. I can't outshoot clones just in a stand-up shootout, right?
Right.
Because effectively what it ended up being is we huddled around all the cover and we're just unloading on each other, and I was like, ew. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like playing Jed. But yeah, got tabled in the end. Also, fortified positions is like, because you can place your barricades at range 1 to 2, I think it is, of your
Yes.
deployment zone. And so the thought I always have is, all right, put it towards the objectives to give more cover to my scoring units as they work their way towards objectives, right?
Sure.
But every time I get it and I play dish guns, it ends up being that no matter where I put the dish, it's because of terrain, and not that this is a complaint like everybody else was for a while anyway, but I'm shooting over cover every single time. Like,
Yeah.
I have no clear fire lanes because I end up putting the barricades in the clear fire lanes to give cover so they can move up. So it was just like, yeah, I'm shooting 5 dice. Because I just took them naked with no upgrades.
Right.
Maybe they took the comms upgrade to get a aim token, but they're throwing like 5 or 6 dice, and at minimum I'm losing 2 every time. But yeah,
It's fair.
not my first time being tabled, but actually I don't think he did. I think I managed to hold out, and I had like 2 dish guns left because he just couldn't, because I was also in cover, so he just couldn't get all the way there.
That would make sense. Because I thought you at least thinned him out more when we were looking at the end.
Yeah, and like I certainly put up a fight and whittled his stuff down. Like I killed a fair amount of his stuff. I think I killed all the snipers, a couple of the squads. Like, I may have gotten tabled, but I certainly made it hurt for him too.
Fair enough. Not nearly as bad as I made my opponent feel.
If I was being a bully.
Look, if you come to the table and you start doing a little bit of smack talk, never really having played against that before, and you've been around for like 3 tournaments, I think it's fair to do a little slapping around. So at one point I did a learning game for one of our Star Wars Unlimited players. He happened to come by one day when I brought my Legion stuff, and because I don't remember if he was there to see Fab or another game. I know he's interested in other card games, but for whatever reason he was at the store on a Saturday when I had my Legion stuff, and I had my Rebels on me as I normally do, and he was like, "Oh, it looks really cool," and then like same day, I think, later that evening, we get a message in the Discord being like, "Hey guys, fucking bought in," and we were like, "What the? I mean, you didn't say shit,
Yeah, he
my
went
dude."
all in. Yeah.
Yeah. He like. My guess is he looked at what I had, looked at the people playing, was like, "These are cool people," and then fucking went upstairs and immediately bought a box set to like fucking jump into the Legion. So the following week I did a learning game with him. So I had my he bought into droids because he thinks it's going to be easiest to paint. He's not wrong. But he wanted droids, so I was like, he bought the Separatist Battle Force starter kit. It was like, "Hey, what do I have, and what can you do a teaching game with?" So I built him a list out of everything that he told me he bought for the CIS, set it on the table. We did a learning game. He really enjoyed it. Next week, we do our tournament for first of every month. We do our little event, either a regular tournament or some crazy bullshit fun activity. And I realized that when I emptied the bag to put CIS in, I accidentally cut my list for the Rebels down to, technically it's legal because you're not forced to spend points. But I realized I only had like 6 units or something and was down by like 150, 170 points, somewhere around that area. So I was like,
That's
fuck.
a hell of a bid.
It's a huge ass bid for no upside. So I was like, fuck, I guess if I'm going to play the buy, I have to play CIS. So Liam, our young lad, gets the buy. And he's like, oh, what are you playing? And I was like, well, surprise, surprise, it's not the list that we say is in the bag. Because I only have like half of that list. So you want to play droids? And he was like, oh yeah, droids. And so I start setting it up, and he looks across the table and he's like, oh, oh, that's a lot of B1s over there. And young lad has Yoda, Cody, a tank, and ISP. And he's only rocking like 7 acts, if I remember right. Something real tiny. And he just looks over. I have Grievous, 2 destroyer droids, 1 AAT, and I think 4 B1s, somewhere around there. Oh yeah, I think it's 4 because I took the minimum. It may be 5, but I'm pretty sure it's 4, so that I could fit E5Cs on the droids. And he just looks over and he's like, B1s? I guess this is a win for me. And I was like, the fuck did you say? Like, didn't say it, just kind of looked at him like, my brother, do you not know where you are, who I am? Because, like, I know since you've been coming to the store, I've been playing Rebel. But my friend, I have been playing CIS since CIS came out. In fact, aside from Grievous, this is my standard list. Like, I used to run AAT, 3 destroyers, the T-Series, and then whatever B1s got me to 5. Sometimes with repair bots, sometimes with rockets, sometimes with all E5Cs. Just everything. And he's like, oh, I have a tank. I have ISP. I have Yoda. Like, you're gonna go down. And I was like, all right, bet. So we played on your fantastic purple table, and I set up with the intent that the tank was never ever my AAT was never ever going to move, because we were playing key positions. So I just we had the center terrain piece. I put mine right next to it, within just outside of range 1, which is really short. And then he picked somewhere pretty close to mine, I believe. And I was like, oh, so this section of the table is going to be a bloodbath. And he's like, yeah, but I have clones and you have droids. And I was like, right, but I'm also dealing a shit ton of suppression, and you don't have a lot of clone bodies, and I have Grievous. Say what you will about Grievous. And I'm playing the Battle Force, so I've got the Battle Force cards. I'm like, you about to learn some lessons, my boy. You're gonna come in here disrespecting my droids. We're gonna fight. So, I'm pretty sure the tank was the only thing left, and I left it broken. Almost killed it at the end of the match. He thought I would just pitch Grievous to fight Yoda one-on-one, but that's a fight that never ever... That's not a fight I win in any world. Like, the only world that wins is he blanks every dice. Attack, defense, everything. I don't win that, even with my Surge to Crit going against Yoda. So, like, every time Yoda would chase after Grievous, Grievous would go, nah, bitch, I'm running. And he would, like, scurry away into a pile of phase 2s or something. To the point where, like, eventually I get up into a top of a hill, and he's got, like, a strike team, 2 phase 2s in range, and a phase 1 in Cody. And I throw my 1 pip, and he was like, I thought you were going to go after Yoda. I was like, why? Yoda's slow as fuck, and he's one guy. If I can kill the rest of your guys, dawdle up to the key positions, and I have way more than you do. So all I need to do is keep chucking the vehicles in front of you. Grievous needs to keep killing your little dudes, and I win this. And he was just like, fuck. Okay. So he tried to enact the same strat, but he tried to trap Grievous with him first, except Grievous's one pip gives him disengage. So Grievous just like flipped Yoda the bird and trottled away, cut up a whole bunch of other dudes. And then Yoda was standing in the open just like, oh, those are B1s. Nothing's gonna happen. And then I rolled all hits on one squad, and then the next three just kept rolling crits. And I was like, Yoda just died to a bunch of B1s, my dude. The tank never ever shot at Yoda, because Yoda was not a threat I was worried about. Like, the ISP, that was a threat. The laser guns that he had, because I don't think he took the beam weapon on that, or the missiles. Because I asked him about the missiles later. I was like, why didn't you take the missiles if you were, like, focused heavy anti-armor with your vehicles? And he was like, oh, because I thought I would use it for fire supporting more, and I wanted the more dice from the guns. And I was like, that's fair. But he just, like... I thought those were more of the threats than Yoda was, because Yoda's slow, except on certain turns, and he did not have burst of speed. So I was like, I can basically sit here, do all this, and then by the end of the game, march my happy ass up, block you out of every zone, and just roll from there, which is exactly what I did. And at the end of it, the only thing he had left was the tank. I tried to kill it to the best of my abilities. However, destroyer droids, even when shooting into the side, with no aims, you're not really getting the crits you need to push through consistently. So, I couldn't bring it down. But it was one of those happy, humbling moments where they walked up to the table, looked at what my army was, and like wrote me off. And then at the end of it was like, my friend really doesn't play droids that way. And I was like, what? Does he like fucking march them right up to your face for the blender? And he was like, kinda, yeah. And I was like, yes.
So he's just reenacting the movie?
Yeah. He's just doing whatever they did in the movie or the TV shows. Yeah. I was like, no, man. I knew what I had to do to beat you, and it was kill your troopers, because your tank can delete stuff, but his tank kept trying to kill my tank, and my tank lived the entire game while it picked off his troopers. Turns out aggressive tactics, giving me one surge on the tank every turn, was amazing, because I always needed it. Like, it would have been the consistent one wound a turn, and it would have probably died if I was not using aggressive tactics. But just having that one surge and looking at him and like rolling the dice and then getting like 7 blocks in one surge and then going like, oh, I guess no damage through. He would just look at me like, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to break your tank over your dead body kind of look. While I was like, oh, pick up 3 more phase 1s. It was good. I did not intend on stomping him, because I know he's not exactly the most experienced, but he got a little cocky, and I had to put him in his place, just to be like, hey man, no. Once you get to that level, I will
adjust that bad attitude.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a bad attitude. He just like, it's just the inexperience. And because he's beaten the rebels in the past, because like I have tried to like get Ahsoka in there, but usually Yoda deals with her, and it's not a competitive list. I love it. It's not a competitive list. It's got 2 Pathfinders. It's got Jin. It's got a Rebel Trooper squad with a shotgun. I love that list. It's just not a great list, but it does terrify people. And so he's used to playing against that. And so when he finally plays the thing that I learned and started on in CIS, especially with destroyer droids, will always have a place in my heart. You go disrespect my B1s, I'm gonna make you fear them, even if they're the ones that didn't do a lot. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's really all the games we played.
Yeah, I had one other to talk about briefly.
Oh, is this the
Yeah.
MCP?
Yeah, finally
Hell
hopped
yeah.
back onto riding that bike for Adams. They Die for Real, basically a league that he's doing. Pick 20 characters. They're the only 20 you get to make your 10-man rosters for each game was over 6 weeks. And if you lose a character, they are permanently not available anymore. And the same goes for your tactics cards, which they are not the same, but they function. Uh, the benefits they give are similar to like command cards in Star
Legion.
Wars Legion. Totally blanked there for some reason. Uh, yeah, many of the cards are simply generic, like meet a condition, throw bonus dice in an attack, heal, do something, get a free move, that kind of thing. Because positioning in this game is incredibly important for movement. Placement effects are really good. Anyway, uh, also there are a bunch of really flavorful, unique, character-specific and faction-specific ones that you can only use once. So like famously, I don't know if you know who Colossus is, but him and Wolverine will do fastball special where Wolverine will crouch in the palm of Colossus's hand and he'll huck a whirling Wolverine at someone. It's one of my favorite cards to play, even though it's super hit or miss. But like I can only use it once. So I've played 2 games in the league so far. It is 6 weeks long. 6 weeks long. So at the rate I'm going, I won't last 6 weeks. Because I've lost 4 characters, I think. No, I think Kyle took it easy on me because he felt bad. But by all rights, I should have lost 4 characters the second game. The first one was against Adam, who I've never beaten this game. Ever. I don't think I beat him in any game we've ever played.
Not even the Victory at Sea learner.
I don't even remember. That was so long ago, I don't recall.
What about Team Yankee? I feel like you made him salty for that one. Sorry, Adam.
No, I understood his salt. It wasn't the win or the loss. It was how underwhelming, quick side tangent, how underwhelming and useless assaulting felt.
That's fair.
Plus it was very confusing. But anyway, um, yeah, that is definitely a game where like I've said it before, but the dice heavily favors offense, and
Yep.
I keep doing dumb shit that blows up in my face. Like I'll dash to pick up a bunch of you have secures, which are like holding a point, like key positions, and then you have extracts, which are things you actually you pick up and carry with you that earn you points. And I frequently, at the early part of the game, want to dash forward, pick up a bunch of points, and then usually my game plan is to then wheel and retreat a little bit, or conceivably that's what I want to do, and have a bunch of extracts and like hold on to one secure. So even if he has all the other points, I'm ahead enough that if I don't lose any, I'm still winning. Because basically, I throw a character up there and then they get nuked off the board, and I never learn my lesson. And you need to get leadership abilities, which are like faction-specific things that you do. You have to obviously play a leader. I was like, well, let's think about how I play this game. I took 4 leaders in my 20, so I could play 3 different flavors of X-Men, and then I took Cable for X-Force. 2 weeks in, I've lost 2 leaders.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And And the first time I played, I even made a point to not play with brand spanking new characters, because
Try
a few
ones you're
episodes
more
back
familiar with.
we talked about how this year is kind of like the year of X-Men for MCP, and like
Right.
that part of the Marvel universe. There's even a lot more coming out. So we're talking Bishop, Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Professor X, and Nightcrawler. I've all painted, and so far I've only played Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat. But I was like, I'll play one character that I had never played before, but her, when you just look at her card, it's very simple. Like she's a fairly easy character to run in terms of complexity, but as the game's gone on, characters have gotten obviously more complex.
Power
Um,
creep, no way.
yeah, we could talk about that. There's been debates about the dominance of a particular point bracket in this game, I've heard. But anyway, um, yeah. And then I played Kyle last week, who the whole time he was talking about how I was gonna just steamroller over him because it's been so long. I'm like, dude, I got one game in probably the last 4 months at least. I'm like, we're basically on the same page. And I was like, all right, let's dribble in some new characters. So I'll play Shadowcat, but then I realized I was also playing a revision of a character that I didn't play a whole lot before he got revised, Cyclops, and I had never played his revised version, which changed how his leadership worked.
Oof.
Um, and I did the dumb shit again, and then it turns out that this
That's
character
what we
named Black Bolt,
do.
yeah, from Inhumans, is fucking ridiculous. Um, all I'll talk about is that there are beam attacks in that game. They work a little differently from uh, Legion, but those of you that have played like older editions of Warhammer 40k, you put a template out. Anything that's under the template gets hit. Uh, it's just small numbers of characters generally in this game. I don't think you could run more than maybe 7 to 8 characters if you really tried. Uh, and we were playing low points, 15. The highest is 20. 15 is not something you see pop up all the time. I had 4 characters, and he was able to beam twice over 2 turns, each character getting hit by 10 dice for 80 fucking dice. No, it wasn't even that much because we did something wrong. But I was like, oh man, if I can just get one more point of damage, I can daze him, which basically takes away an activation, because effectively characters get 2 chances at life in this game. And then come to find out, most characters middle of the pack, characters 3 to 4 points, are going to be around 4 to 5-ish health, rolling 3-ish dice on defense. It turns out Black Ball has got a giant fat ass on his on his backside. On the back, when you flip his card, he goes from 5 health to 9 health, which is approaching Hulk levels of health. Like, that's ridiculous. In that game, that's a lot. Because there's a lot of ways to reduce damage and affect dice rolls and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And every time I hit him and try and down him, I'm also feeding him power, because when you get hit with damage, you get power. Power is what you spend on your superpowers and your attacks. One of which was, when on his front side, he's more about protecting his people, right? Because he's the king of the Inhumans. And then he gets mad because Black Bolt's thing is like he has to be mute because whispering will like cause utter devastation.
Right.
And so I flipped him, thinking like, okay, cool. So I think he dropped an extract or something. What I should have done was ignored him the entire time. So we'll see what happens this Friday. But yeah,
Nice.
still a lot of fun. I'm just like, do I even want to like try and win the game, or do I just want to try and be a bully and kill people's characters?
I mean,
Because
you could.
Dustin was lined up to play lined up to play Kyle next. He's like, dude, kill Black Bolt. And I was like, I fucking tried. I couldn't do it.
I mean, my motto is, I guess, be the bully, which I didn't think that was my play style, but the more I talk about the units that I play or the decks that I build, I'm like, fuck. I guess I am.
Well, just Learning more about yourself, I guess.
Fair enough.
And yet people still want to play with you.
It's because my
Now we did
magmatic, enigmatic, something personality.
magnetic personality.
Yeah, or people are stupid. Who knows? Oh, I do bribe people a lot though, so maybe there's that. I pay people to beat them up.
Weird transaction, but okay.
Uh,
We didn't discuss having a contentious conjecture, but as we were talking, I realized we might have something to talk about.
oh, something not revolving around a game studio canceling stuff.
I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it. It's certainly topical.
I definitely wanted to talk about it since, a couple
Okay.
podcasts ago, I definitely said one of the game systems that is now quote unquote dead was my favorite game system out of all the ones I've played so far. Yeah. So, if you don't know, people out there in podcast land, uh, AMG finally, I'm not going to say pulled the plug, because the plug has been pulled for a hot minute. We'll just say they finally admitted to the world that X-wing and Armada are no longer being developed, and there will be no new product. Also, potentially no product in general, despite saying repeatedly that they're going to keep stocking the shelves. However, not that long ago, uh, all that shit got pulled off of the Asmodee store. And when they posted their little, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why, one of the things they brought up was like, it's too hard to find pre-painted miniatures and the scale and the detail and quality and yada yada yada. I am a diehard Armada player. It's ultimately what got me into miniature gaming as a whole. I think my complaints with this boil down to capitalism fucking sucks. Because ultimately, I do not blame AMG. I know that is a contentious... Yeah, I was going to say, I know that in and of itself is a contentious conjecture, but I'm not stupid. I see the news. I see the gaming articles and the financials and all that shit. And this all stems back from when Asmodee got bought out, or the lead up to Asmodee getting sold, and doing the reorganization so that they look better on paper to potential buyers, by consolidating all of their games into houses, essentially, of like, this is our card game house, this is our board game house, this is our miniatures game house, despite the fact that, like, you are ripping games from developers who built or who made those games, who nurtured those games, brought them to market, started the communities around them, all this shit, and then force other developers to take it over and be like, hey, I know you already have 2 games and you're a tiny ass studio, but here's a bunch more. Have fun with that. Bye. Make us a lot of money. Shareholders will be pissed if you don't. Goodbye. Everybody wants to shit on AMG for it. It's not AMG's fault. It's all the fucking shareholders, and I'm blanking on the corporation right now. They're Embracer. Yeah, Embracer. Yeah, there we go. It's all Embracer doing the, like, coming in, telling them, hey, you're getting saddled with this debt. Hey, you're doing this. Hey, we need to make money. So no, you can't hire staff. No, you can't keep on the staff that switched over from FFG. You can't do this and that. We are trying to cut costs to make money. So, if anybody wants to be pissed about this, I'm not going to blame the fucking devs who did not develop this game, who did not make this game, who got it taken out of their lap, thrown into their hands, and I'm going to bet, because like I do very similar stuff with my company, they turned around, they looked at their parent, their, like, whoever runs their shit, and it's like, can we do this? Well, no, that costs money. Can we do this? No, that costs money. Can we do this? No, it costs money. Stop doing things that cost us money. Go make us more money so we can turn around to our shareholders, kind of shit. So, am I sad? Yes. Because for the most part, I think you could get away with doing print and play for the Empire and Rebels for forever. Give us new squadrons in the form of print and play. Give us new titles. Give us new upgrades. Whatever. That could have been done with less. However, the Clone Wars were not complete. They did not give us, FFG did not give us, AMG did not give us, we did not get completed Clone Wars. Because there's just not enough. It is effectively solved, from what a lot of people will tell you. But I still love the game. There's still interest in our area. I don't really know anybody who's selling it off in our area. And I will still play for as long as people want to play.
And that's all the people that are doom and gloom about it. Like, yes, there's no longer, official support, but games don't need to die just because a company abandoned them. The biggest miniature game company in the world, Games Workshop, made a game universally loved called Mordheim. It was a small-scale skirmish game, and 30 like we're looking like 25 years after the fact, it is just as popular through fan support as it was, if not more, than when it came out. So
I'm really
people
glad.
just go, "Fuck it, I'll just sell all my shit." You're part of the problem then if you're not gonna doesn't mean you can't still play.
Yep. And I'm really glad you had a miniature example, because the only example that I have is the Star Wars collectible card game player committee. The committee that still runs fucking Star Wars tournaments, game events, hosts a store, still does virtual cards, still does everything to basically keep that game alive and people play it. And because of that, like, I've even been fed into different algorithms like, hey, did you know there's a tournament coming up in your area in Tacoma? And I'm like, bitch, I have not, aside from the one learning game I did with you, I have not touched this fucking game in a bajillion years. I can't even imagine going to play in a tournament right now, but now that tells me that there's probably a community somewhere in the area for me to be like, hey, let's fucking play games, kind of stuff. And that game died 2003-ish? And so we're talking 20 years later for a card game that is literally just kept alive by some players who just absolutely love the game. So, as long as you keep your stuff, you can play. And there will be
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was gonna say, don't get me wrong. I understand that it's gonna get harder and harder to find product to play, and it's gonna get more and more expensive to play if you're not into it. Especially, granted, their 3D printing is a thing, so there is that kind of support. But for like a game like Mordheim, for example, conceivably, there is hundreds, possibly, probably thousands of miniatures out there you could use for that game, because everybody makes miniatures. Like that scale of a game in terms of like how big are the miniatures is incredibly common, right? It's like almost the standard.
Yep.
And they just need to be fantasy, and boom, you've got something you can play for that.
Yep.
Yeah, I did have one thought, an interesting thought that I can't remember now what YouTuber or miniatures influencer person I saw it from, and it was a point they made that I've talked to you about. Um, and it applies to Legion too. That like conceivably, right, a game that a licensed miniatures game probably has a finite lifespan,
Well,
unless they get permission to like just make shit up.
well, so that's what I mean by when it comes down to it, Rebel and Empire could effectively just have print and play done for the rest of their lives because there is a lot of EU legends, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of that out there that was never added to the game that effectively could just be new titles, new equipment, stuff that doesn't need miniatures for, stuff that doesn't need additional modeling for. You just slap it on and say, here's the upgrade for this ISD2. Here's this special A-Wing squadron. Well, they're still fucking A-Wings, so you can still use your A-Wing models. The only kind of one that I feel bad for is like, yeah, you definitely kind of have to go to 3D printed support for is the Clone Wars because they just got that initial wave, and then Asmodee did the rip from FFG throw at AMG, deuces, it's your baby now kind of bullshit. So I have felt that at least in terms of the Empire and Rebel, like, yeah, we're good. Like you're eventually gonna hit it. New shows are coming along, but for the most part, when was the last time we got new capital ships? We haven't. Like, as much as people are gonna say, like, oh well, we got Thrawn's Star Destroyer in gold with hyperspace ring. It's like, cool. What functionality does that give you in the game? It's weaker. It can leave battle. Like, what does that do? Oh, what about Moff Gideon Star Cruiser? Okay, that's just a title because we already have the light cruisers in game. So the Architans. So you got to start mining the old stuff, and basically most of that can just be done in the form of virtual cards, print and play packs. So I agree with you. I felt the.
That's
Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, like I never played Armada. I bought
Yet.
into X-wing literally when it came out. Like I split a starter with a friend, so we each had. He took all the ties, I took the X-wings, and then my shit all got stolen. And I wasn't super loving the game at the time because if I remember right, it wasn't terribly well balanced. Like the
It's partly why it's gone
whatever
through
that's
3 revisions.
yeah, like there's almost no point to play X-wings because the ties were just better. They could go more often. Yada yada yada. Anyway, um, so I never bothered getting back in. But it's Star Wars, a property I love, despite well, it's a love hate relationship nowadays. But I'm still sad to see it go. Plus, I find it mind blowing that Star Wars, probably the most iconic and well known science fiction franchise of all time. One of the things it's most famous for, the ships, and there's nothing in this nerdy niche hobby of ours, Star Wars related ship combat game,
Which,
conceivably, that's being supported.
ooh. So I don't want to get into this tonight because like basically what I'm about to say, and we can basically end this right after I say it, because like I'm basically putting the fuse on the nuke and chucking it out there. But I'm gonna say it, and I think the fans are the thing that are killing it.
Wait, killing Armada and X-wing or Star Wars games or Star Wars?
Partly, I think Legion and Armada, or
All of
not
the above.
Armada, Legion and Shatterpoint are fine. But I think the fans, I'm air quoting, by the way, I think the fans are the ones that are killing it because They are nothing but doom and gloom bitches who want to just say the sky is falling, it's ending, it's ending. Don't buy this game, don't do this, don't support Star Wars for XYZ reason, and they can't just be happy for it. And the thing, Armada, you can't really point at something in Armada's history for that. Because the only thing that you can really point at is the fans being like, where the fuck is product? But in X-wing, granted I never played X-wing, I looked at it and I was like, it's just way too many things for me to buy into. I'm not that interested. But I saw the aftermath of the 2.5 update, and everybody bitching and complaining and saying this killed the game. And you go and you look at every AMG post after they got thrown the product IP, and it is X-wing and Armada fans just straight up bitching that this isn't how they want the game to go. This isn't what they want. This is that, this, the other thing, and it's nothing but fucking negativity. And if you look at other Star Wars shit, and you look at how quote-unquote fans are treating that shit right now, I think ultimately fans are the ones killing it. Because if you're going to tell people, well, this version of the game sucks, and it's, let's be real, fairly niche. Like, miniature games are fairly niche. But when the people who get that fed to them in their algorithm might be like, oh, that looks cool, and then all they see is like, this sucks, this blows, and they don't maybe know that there's a game store, or they don't stop in on the nights where the groups are meeting and having a great time and being welcoming and throwing dice. Like, it's super easy to just see that and be like, no thanks, I have a happy, healthy life, and roll on about your day. That's how I feel about it. That's my dropping the fucking nuke, getting people all pissy.
Well, yeah. Do you want to end it there on that note then?
Yeah, I'll just hawk through on that thing and run.
Yeah, send your hate mail, letter bombs, anthrax to Phi. That was their take.
Wow. Yeah, you can find me at our Shopify.
Yeah.
That was great when I got that message. Look, there's a lot of other things to be pissed at and sad about and angry about in the fucking world. And being pissed and angry and moaning about a game to the point where you're going to that extent, a show, a movie, a series, a property, to that extent that is ultimately just here to entertain. I don't know. There's bigger fish to fry. There's other things out there. Go be mad at that.
Yeah, because nothing's stopping you from finding friends and playing that game. So just play the game.
Or any game.
Yeah.
If you got a game that you love, like I'll fucking get you an Armada. You ain't got to buy shit. I got everything you could ever want to play. Or Star Wars DCG.
Because yeah, realistically, it's going to be Rebels and Empire for me. So
I got you, boo. And then we can play with John and make Carl stand on the outside some more.
Yeah, there you go.
Carl, we love you, but you got to pick up more than one game, my man. Cool. Shall we end it there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been Phi, throwing out the hottest of hot takes.
Yeah, I've been Aaron, and I'll just take cover while that bomb goes off.
Yep, that's fair. So, all of our 30 listeners out there, we appreciate you, and get in those comments and fucking yell at us later. But you have a wonderful day. Bye!
Bye. I'm waving. You can't see me, but I'm waving.